afternoon, everybody. Welcome to Carrow Road. What a glorious day it is here as well. We thought that the best of the summer had passed. It seems not. Beautiful conditions here. The pitch absolutely basked in sunshine for today's game against Stoke City. It's been, just short of a month since we were here last for that 3-1 victory against Millwall last month. And we've got, this run starts obviously 7 games in 21 days, which is going to be very, very, very hectic. We're looking forward to it, obviously, back here on Wednesday night for Leicester. Connor Southwell joined by Paddy Davitt to bring you the team news this afternoon as it drops. We are expecting both Danny Bart and Ujo Huang to be in the squad this afternoon. Doesn't seem like there's been a sighting of Borja Sainz from our photographer who's been around the front looking for the players as they come in. So we'll see in just a couple of minutes' time or so. Paddy, lots of familiar faces have been circuiting around those Norwich City dugouts. We've seen Alex Neil, Ricky Martin as well, who obviously held quite a few roles during his lengthy spell at Carrow Road. There's a lot of familiar faces in that Stoke setup from a managerial perspective.
Yeah. I'm trying to think. How did Alex should know this off the top of my head? How did he get on last time he was here? They got beat, didn't they? I think Dean Smith's
3-1
team turned him over. Yeah. He was less than impressed. I do recall in his post-match media, he felt, I think, that game that they let Norwich off the hook, and I'm sure he will want to come back and have a better memory today. He's spoken again in the build-up. The gratitude he has to Delia and Michael principally for giving him that first opportunity in England as an unknown by his own measure. And it's interesting looking at what he's done this summer. 18 players they've brought in, they've spent money. I think I'm right in saying Stoke are in a bit of a holding pattern in terms of the finances and the FFP situation. Yeah. But as we all know, or anybody should know, the Stoke club is bankrolled by the Coates family, who are the Bet365 empire. So they're not short of a few quid, I think it's safe to say. And it looks like this summer now they've had a real good go, freed from whatever financial restrictions they were under. But 18 new players, that's a very difficult assimilation process for Alex Neil, and you can see that in the results. Played 5 in the league, they've won 2, lost 3. So there's more than an element of they're just still in the gelling and getting to know you phase, and hopefully Norwich can take advantage of it.
Yes, let's bring you the team then. It is out. It's Gunn in goal, Stacey, Duffy, Gibson and Yanulis as the back 4. Sarah and Kenny McLean, fresh from signing his new contract in central midfield. Fashnak and Rowe are the 2 wide players. Ashley Barnes and Adam Eder. So that's unchanged, I believe, from the side that did get beat 2-1 against Rotherham last time out. The bench is much changed, however. George Long, Fisher, Bart, Forshaw, Gibbs, Springett, Poeta, Huang and Hernandez make up the bench. So just to read that again: Gunn in goal, Stacey, Duffy, Gibson and Yanulis as the back 4. Sarah and McLean, the central midfield pairing. Fashnak on the right, Rowe on the left with Ashley Barnes partnering. Adam Eder up front. The subs bench: George Long, Kellen Fisher, Danny Bart, Adam Forshaw, Liam Gibbs, Tony Springett, Shemiswar Poeta, Ujo Huang and Onel Hernandez as well. That bench looks considerably stronger than the one that was named against Rotherham last time out. Paddy, probably not a surprise given how this team has started under David Wagner and how well Norwich City have done up to that defeat against Rotherham last time out, that he's giving these players an opportunity to maybe right the wrongs of that afternoon in Yorkshire.
Yeah, it's an interesting one. And why wouldn't he? Because, as he said to us on Thursday afternoon at Colney, 14 halves of football, 7 games, league and cup, and I think he had to hold himself in check. I think he'd like to have described it in more colourful language, but he basically settled for very, very poor that first half at Rotherham. And but 13 halves, which were more than acceptable, and then some in a lot of cases, in a lot of those games. So I don't think we were in knee-jerk territory, really. I mean, it's hard. You look down at that without Sargent. Huang only joined up on Thursday morning. Very difficult to see how you would parachute him straight into the 11. So as long as all the others were fit and healthy, then I'm not overly surprised that he's said to those 11 who didn't perform in that first 45 at Rotherham, go again. Show us that was just a blip and a one-off. And what I would add is if they don't, as you rightly say, Connor, that bench is markedly stronger, it looks on paper, than the one at Rotherham. So if it's not happening for this 11 again, you can be sure David Wagner will be looking to that bench, and I think we will see possibly the likes of Huang and Hernandez. Good to see him back in there. Poeta, Forshaw as well. He spoke very glowingly about Forshaw and what he's seen from him at Colney in the last 2 weeks. So these 11 today, no, if they're not at it, there is options in reserve, and I think if we're being honest, that probably wasn't the case at Rotherham.
Yeah, I'm trying to think of the bench now. Long was on the bench, Gibbs was on the bench, Poeta was on the bench, Springett was on the bench, Fisher was on the bench. So that's kind of 4 faces that's been parachuted back into it. Huang, Forshaw, Hernandez and Danny Bart as well. Obviously, 2 of those were deadline day additions who couldn't play due to, there you go. So that compares to the bench last time out, which was Long, McCallum, Springett, Poeta, Gibbs, McCracken, Nunez, Fisher and Warner. So it goes to show you the difference that those 4 players have, with obviously Borja Sainz to join the equation. Nunez out injured as well. No Sam McCallum on the bench, which is interesting that Callum Fisher has been preferred to cover those full-back areas. But that indicates maybe a little bit of what David Wagner was saying, that the international break and Poeta, and Poeta who can cover left back, of course, and that emphasises maybe a little bit what we were saying, that that game probably was a little bit reflective of where Norwich City were in terms of the state of their squad as well, more than anything else, because the options they did have on the bench probably just didn't quite have the quality to change it.
No, absolutely, and that's no disrespect to the names you listed there, but clearly in Adam Forshaw, that's a promotion winner who's played for a big club like Leeds and handled the expectation that comes with that. Huang, we know his backstory. He's a seasoned international for South Korea. He's played at major tournaments. He's played in France. Not got looking at Forest so far, but clearly a guy's been round the block, and you can carry on. Danny Bart, we know about his backstory. Even on El Hernandez, he's got plenty of games now at senior level. So it is dramatically different, I think, in terms of the depth and the ability to change a game, which is ultimately, if you look into your bench, that's what you're hoping to do. And that's what David had talked up in that pre-Rotherham run, that when he went to his bench and he brought in players, they could affect it. Notably, Ida here against Hull on the opening day. Fashnak was good when he came on in a couple of cameos. So, I don't know what's going on behind us, Connor.
Someone's birthday.
It's your birthday?
It's
not my birthday, no. So, yeah, there's no doubt that looks a much deeper batting lineup than what we saw at Rotherham. But if I'm in the 11, I'm thinking, we've dropped our standards there, haven't we, really? Ashley Barnes in the programme today talking about not good enough that first half. David Wagner reiterated not good enough. They've spoken about that. They should have the bit between the teeth, because for the non-internationals, they've had 2 weeks to stew on that. And I'm sure it left a bit of an aftertaste. And as I say, you're playing against a Stoke squad who potentially, if it comes together under Alec Neil, could be there at the right end come the end of the season. But at the start of the season, they're nowhere near at the minute. 3 defeats in their 5 games is not exactly promotion-winning form. So let's keep it in context. David says this is going to be the best group of players they've played since Southampton, although that's looking less as a badge of honour after Southampton's performance last night, again, under Russell Martin. But individuals, maybe it is. So if it is, then Norwich need to impose themselves on this Stoke team today. And if they do, for me, there's a result here all day. If they get back to the levels they were in the first 6 games, then they should be too good for this Stoke team today, in my opinion.
Yeah, I think everyone from a Stoke perspective just waiting for it to click. They've made quite a few changes over the summer, and I'll read you their team. They've got Travis Gooch, Ben Pearson. Oh, there we go. It's almost like we plan these things. Travis in goal, Larice Rose, Wilmot and Lyndon Gooch as the back 4. Berger, who they signed for quite a bit of money, I think, from Basel maybe. Pearson as well, who's a seasoned operator at this level, and I'm sure he's fondly remembered for those performances for Bournemouth. I don't think he endeared himself to Norwich fans on that occasion. Junho, Laurent, Campbell and Wesley, formerly of Aston Villa. I think he was Aston Villa's record signing at one stage. Up front, the subs bench is Jack Bonham, Dwight Gale, there's the name for you, Daniel Johnson, Jordan Thomas, Saeed Haksabanovic, Nikola Jojic, Luke McNally, Junior Twalimene, who I think was linked with Norwich, wasn't he, in the summer, and Nathan Lowe make up their bench. So that gives you an indication of their lineup, and as Paddy said, a little bit of a mixed start for them. 3 defeats, 2 victories in their 5 games so far. Let's talk about Kenny McLean then, Paddy. Obviously fresh today, captain's side again, fresh off signing a contract extension at Norwich till 2026, with Norwich having the option to extend that by a further year, which would, if all of those scenarios played out, take him to his 34th birthday. Brilliant servant. Obviously this comes in wake of what was pretty strong interest from Leeds United in the summer. A real, I guess, show of commitment on both sides, isn't it, really, this contract?
Yeah, and those quotes that he gave in the club interview, it was very implicit in those that he wanted reassurance from his side, Norwich wanted to reassure him, and so they met clearly on the same page in terms of, there was interest from Leeds, it was concerted, it wasn't at a financial level it was even going to be entertained in the corridors of power here, that's for sure. But once that does come into play, even for an experienced player, I guess you want that reassurance that you are part of the plans. And And obviously the announcement, it's 2026. It was 2025, I think, originally. But it's 2026 with another option for a 31-year-old. I think that gives him the reassurance he needs. He talked about, how he feels settled here. He's got a young family. He's got another one on the way. And he's hungry, and he believes he's in a hungry group of players to go on and achieve some of the things he's achieved previously in his career. And if he sees it through, bearing in mind he came in 2018, very rare at this period of the modern game now to have a player who's getting up towards sort of Wes Houlihan levels of longevity. And that should underline, because I think it's safe to say he's not always been everyone's cup of tea. But what I thought was telling is post that announcement yesterday, almost universally, that's great news. That's really made my day. What a real appreciation for what Kenny McLean is and what he is within this group and the influence he has. Because I don't think he's always had that. I think there's always been people who've pointed out some of his deficiencies or what they felt was his deficiencies. But I think beyond doubt now he's proven himself. I mean, value for money, 200,000 they paid to him for Aberdeen. That's ridiculously good value now. So, ultimately what you have is a solid player who now, for me, what is he, 29? I think he's probably in his peak years. He should be in his peak years in terms of his experience, the games under his belt, and that still physical output that he can produce as well. So these are probably now, right here, right now, these are the best times for Kenny McLean, and you just hope he carries on alongside Zara and also Forshaw in the same vein. And as David said on Thursday, he wouldn't swap those three for any other three in the Championship. High praise indeed.
Yes, it is. I did some of the maths around this. Well, I think he's probably been. I think there's a DJ set going on, which may explain the various. Is
there any need for it to be this low?
Not really, no. But I think he has. I've lost my train of thought now. Wasn't it? So in my view, he's been one of the most consistent performers since David Wagner's come in, and it's telling Norwich City's ratio with him in the side compared to without him in the side. We might have to wrap this up pretty quickly, Pat, because that is god awful. How do you see this game playing out against what is expected to be a very good Stoke side?
Thank the Lord. Turn the volume down. What is that? It's an abomination, that is.
I've definitely just lost my voice now.
Yeah. I don't know what they think the target audience is, but it's definitely not Carrow Road.
It's not us, I don't think, to be fair.
Well, I don't think it's too many beyond a certain age range. But what was the question, Connor? How will the game pan out?
Yes, mate, yeah.
I'm going to still, because we recorded the podcast after the Rotherham game, and it was like, we didn't see that coming. It's a bit of a reality check, but let's keep it in perspective. And so almost the needle is still ticking towards the positive and the optimistic, as it should be after 7 games. But if we don't see what we saw in the first 6 games and we see more of Rotherham here today, you'd think that would probably result in probably a defeat, maybe a draw at best, and the questions will continue then, because that would be then two very
more than a blip then, isn't it?
It is, yeah.
Which is why I've kind of said these next 2, maybe Plymouth as well, feel quite big for narrative, perhaps more than anything else.
I personally would take Leicester out of the equation. I think they're head and shoulders the best team in the division. I think they will go on to be Wolves levels when they romp the league that season, probably Burnley last season. You just look at them last night, they're everywhere, front to back Premier League players. So
helps when you're playing against a team with no defence, though.
Yeah, but they've done it in the previous games, haven't they? So yeah, I'm not placing any store in terms of what it means for Norwich midweek when Leicester come here. But today, Plymouth next weekend, yeah, definitely. I think if Norwich do want to feel that they're going to be in the conversation, they have to get results against these next 2 games, these next 2 Saturday games for me. And ultimately, I think we've seen enough evidence that even without Sargent, hopefully Wang now does bolster it a little bit if he's needed today. That they've got enough about them to, in these next 2 games, 4 points from 6, maybe 6 if we're being greedy. So result-wise, I'm going to say 2-1 today, Norwich.
Oh, I'm going 2-0. I'm going to go clean sheet. Yeah, but it's. I think this one could be a really competitive one actually, and a really potentially difficult one for Norwich as well if they're at Rotherham levels rather than the levels that we've seen before that. I think we're going to wrap it up here before we get completely drowned out by the music and the DJ set. Plenty of atmosphere building, maybe unwillingly in some cases, at Carrow Road prior to kick-off. Pinken.com, the place to go. Of course, you can join us on the Pinken Plus app, as it says down there. You can find out more details over at Pinken.com. Just click subscribe and you'll get all of the relevant stuff there. Thank you very much for watching. Enjoy your Saturday afternoon in glorious weather. We'll see you soon.